I'm doing something different for the beginning of this video. If you want to get straight to the album review, check the description for a timestamp or scroll ahead to its corresponding chapter. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Not that I'm going to stick to a consistent timetable anyway, I'm simply doing this for fun. My original plan was to make a dual album review of From Parts Unknown and Low Teens by Every Time I Die. With each of my album reviews, I've attempted to learn and use a new skill, whether it relates to graphic design, animation, pacing, or just generally improving the quality. For the dual album review, I wanted to challenge myself with a video that was constantly moving. I didn't want to rely on cuts or dissolves for transitions. I wanted to create videos such as those made by Polyphonic, which has been a huge inspiration to me. I watched a couple hours worth of tutorials for After Effects 3D camera tool, as well as kinetic typography tips to prepare myself. But then, I never opened the program. I convinced myself I wouldn't be able to create this, so why even bother? Much time has passed, and I haven't worked on a creative project in a while. I scroll through social media and feel inadequate when I compare myself to other artists and content creators I respect. I have anxiety. I'm realizing my anxiety is debilitating. It is actively preventing me from living my life. I don't take chances, I'm too afraid to post anything. I have a severe inferiority complex, which leads me to believe there's no string of words or images I can assemble that will be worth someone's attention. Then, by not creating content, I don't learn from it. You selected this video for an album review, not man has mental breakdown and seeks catharsis. Instead of learning a technical skill, I'm going for a more personal one this time. In 1985, a documentary was released about General William T. Sherman's infamous Scorched Earth March through the Confederacy during the latter stages of the Civil War. Documentarian Ross McElwee injected his own personal narrative into the movie. Recovering from a recent breakup, he documents his attempts at finding new love while finding analogies to Sherman's March. Consider this my Sherman's March. I have option paralysis, infinitely theorizing and never deciding. I'm often quiet, not because I'm shy, just that I don't want to say the wrong thing or something stupid and potentially lose respect or status. I'd rather scroll through others' content than post my own. The lyrics of Clairvoyant are so genuine and honest, they inspired me to open up myself and just create something. So here's to getting back into creative endeavors and not caring what myself or anyone thinks. During this time of anxiety and reflection, I listened to the Contortionist album Clairvoyant a lot. I was drawn to it the way Silent Hill beckons people. Clairvoyant is the Contortionist's fourth LP. Their previous album Language thematically handles the same story, but Clairvoyant is tonally different. It is the story of a close friend of vocalist Michael Lessard losing their mother and then succumbing to drug addiction and the grief that follows. Where Language was heavily metaphorical, Clairvoyant is stripped down and blunt. Where Language is vivid, Clairvoyant is brooding. When writing Language, Michael needed to make something bright to get him through the torment. Being metaphorical could help create emotional distance. After time and reflection, Clairvoyant cuts deeper. Lessard channels his anger, pain, and eventual acceptance. Clairvoyant opens with monochrome passive, a hypnotic and slightly dissonant synth entrances the listener until a booming riff crashes in. The tone for the album is set, a dark and slightly mystical journey. Halfway through, the guitars introduce a melody with a soft synth piano sounding like a pleasant rainy day. The Contortionist members utilize every instrument to add layers that coalesce into dynamic songs. Godspeed. A single piano note at the beginning cues an outburst of sonic upheaval. To me, the lyrics of Godspeed seem to be bewildered, possibly even denial, as is the first stage of grief. Things are implied, nothing's the same. Worried I won't remember where to begin. We must decide. Word of the news is out. Things are different. He doesn't know how to begin the process of moving on. He must figure it out. Throughout, the guitars harmonize and stack atop one another. Around 3 minutes in, the climax of the song is launched into a soaring lead guitar solo that sounds like an angel's shriek, all while Lessard's vocals harmonize. Reimagined continues the disillusionment of loss. The lyrics are more distorted, referencing the ability to see the shape of sound, or materializing the point of life in a shape of eyes crawling towards you. The bridge starts with lyrics, "All comfort escaped me. Once you found the breath you lost, breathe again." He's struggling to move on. Instrumentally, the song ends similar to Godspeed, with a building crescendo that culminates with a soaring guitar lead, yawning bass, and distant keys. Clairvoyant. The lyrics here have a flavor of mysticism to them, but the narrative seemingly follows the friend purchasing drugs. Lessard uses different inflections to represent a different character. Maybe it's just because of the context of the story in this part of the song, but somehow to me, instrumentally, they also manage to make it sound more sinister. Like the bass is more gnarled and windy, more manipulative. We'd sell you our souls, but they're golden, and that's far too much for you. I'd sell you these words, but I've sold them, as I'm sure you already know. You're clairvoyant. The friend would sell their soul, but it's golden and pure. The seller is repugnant and not worth receiving gold. The friend would sell their words, but they've already said too much. They've been in this situation before. The seller knows the outcome. They are clairvoyant. What's the price of it? If we kill ourselves a little bit, is it worth it? Start is relative to end. This has no price attached to it. What's the price of it? Is it worth using the drug if it's killing a little bit of you each time? The start and the end of life are relatively the same. Life has no inherent price or value other than what you attribute to it. It's up to you to determine the value of your own. Sonically, the song continues on with churning rhythmic riffs and arcane synths. The center. In the words of Lessard, this is a song from the perspective of somebody who wants to shut himself off from the world and can't really cope with anything, doesn't want to deal with anything. The lyrics are evasive. The protagonist pleads for sleep. This has become my favorite song from the album. It never ceases to give me goosebumps. At 2 minutes, 55 seconds, the bass rumbles as Lessard sings. This part always resonates with my soul. The lyrics repeat, "Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see now?" Depending on the point of view, This could be interpreted as the protagonist asking the friend if they see themselves for how they are, or if the friend is high and on a higher plane. They may think they have found their center and are elevated, being able to see more. Much as I enjoyed in language, the repetitive lyrical delivery induces a drug-like somnolent effect. The song ends with an extended ambient portion. Absolve. It's not a bad song, but it is my least favorite on the album. It maintains the present themes. It's on track, but not as meaty or substantial as the rest. The narrator observes the friend from a distance and remarks on their descent. You pray for rain in hopes that it'll wash away. Well, let's be honest, you don't have that much faith. I think it's too late if you're looking to save face. I see you slipping from that. I see you slipping from that throne of grace. Relapse. Relapse remains optimistic. The lyrics mention each day is a new opportunity for recovery. The narrator warns the friend they're being duped, and once again referencing the faux clairvoyance of the seller actually being a carefully laid ruse. If the relapse happens today, then let tomorrow be recovery. All that you've been sold is fool's gold. Predictable in nature, so it seems. They're clairvoyant. They've created your dependency. They're clairvoyant. The lyrics also deal with how dependency is a spiral that becomes more and more difficult to escape. Stuck in the lines of the prescribed, this can't be what they mean. Recommended daily for dependency. Best of luck with your recovery. 4 minutes and 22 seconds into the song has my favorite riff from the album. It's heavy and winds in a serpentine-like fashion. Return to Earth is melancholic at the start until booming riffs slam in. Much like reality crashing back down. The friend feeds themselves excuses to prevent dealing with the harsh reality of their circumstance. Lessard states, "There's still a lot of metaphor, but as the album progresses, it becomes even more grounded. It comes down from the metaphor. Return to Earth is like the most honest you're going to get lyrically. It's not based on story. It's me if I were able to have a conversation with him." The rest of the album is shifting perspectives, whether to him or someone else. He goes on to detail the lyrics, "You were so sick, you were skin and bones, so you fed yourself excuses just to keep it going." The last line from the last song on the album is, "When all that's left is just all your bones, so there's no longer skin. They've deteriorated to the point of bone." These lyrics wasn't technically perfect. Could it have been any better? Falling faster and faster. Do you still feel clever? Couldn't stop the momentum. Couldn't stop you from crashing. Wish that I had seen it coming. These lyrics are taken from the song Tin Can Experiment by Maynard rock band 6 Gig. The song melody is also identical. On the Contortionist Instagram page, when a fan asked why they used another band's lyrics, they replied with, "Actually got permission from Wes to use the lyric. Tin Can Experiment was the album my friend and I listened to as kids. The album is about his passing, and since 6 Gig lost a member to drugs, seemed fitting." Finally, we have acceptance in the form of monochrome pensive. The beginning is both funereal and tenderly uplifting. The lyrics are very raw. There is a pained callousness with the delivery of, "And I bet you couldn't be, I bet you couldn't breathe when your lungs collapsed." The pain continues with, "I know you felt alone. I know you felt it in your bones. I could feel it in my teeth. I know you couldn't sleep. I know you will find your home. The first time I read along with the lyrics, it made me tear up, especially with the part about missing his mother. At 5 minutes 42 seconds, the song settles down once more before the climax. The final verse is heart-wrenching with its honesty and torment. Lessard states his final goodbye. The friend asks why his calls weren't answered. The final reply is that it wasn't that easy. His friend had become just bones. It was too difficult to bear, so Lessard had to distance himself. After this, the instruments take over for a life-affirming finish to the album, paving the road to recovery. Because it's relevant, I will briefly mention the Our Bones EP, which followed Clairvoyant 2 years after release. The songs Follow and Early Grave maintain similar themes of loss. From their Bandcamp page, Follow explores the self-defeating traps brought on by a lack of perspective, ultimately encouraging an iconoclastic approach to life in line with the band's relentless musical individualism. As for Early Grave, it is about fans' accounts of heartbreak, loneliness, and depression. All Gray acts as a bookend to the story from Clairvoyant. All Gray is forlorn. Reverb on horns and piano make them sound distant. A soft and fitting end to this difficult journey. Clairvoyant is raw and vulnerable. It is stripped down, but not lacking in complexity. Its story is intense, while sonically, it is ethereal and a serene journey. Every moment is deeply textured. Aesthetically, it can be serene and mystical. All the while, it focuses on a somber reality. Each member contributes immensely to the atmosphere they seek to create. The Contortionist evolves and improves with each release. I will always look forward to the Contortionist's progression. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for watching.